Y'all haven't seen this before, but I have worked on this thing quite a bit. It's my boss's hunting truck. He just had a brand new flatbed put on it. And I've actually gone through here. There's my little mark right there. I've gone through here and I've actually pulled this motor out and gone through it and done new head gaskets and everything. It's got new motor mount, starter, you know, did the smog delete. Pretty much went through it and freshened it all up. So, but now the clutch has gone out in it and it just revs right past the clutch. So we're going to do a clutch and rebuild the whole front end of this thing. This is the stupidest front end of all time. It's the twin I-beam bull crap. So it's the axles are U-jointed and it's just an upper and lower ball joint. And they pivot past each other. So this is going to be fun because I got to redo those U-joints, doing the ball joints, redoing the steering, new leaf springs. As you can tell, they are worn out. They are curving back down on each side of the axle. So we actually just compared pricing on getting factory springs. The factory springs are like $260 per pack, per leaf spring pack. So, and he found a lift kit for about $500. It comes with leaf springs for the front to raise it, shocks, extended shocks for front and rear, and the blocks in the rear to lift the back. So we're just going to go that route and do the lift instead of buying stock shocks, stock springs, and spending more money for it. So we're going to do that, redo the front end, do the clutch, and get this thing all ready for duck season, which is coming up real quick. So hopefully we get this thing done like the next week or so between ordering parts and everything, and get it going for him. So all right guys, so here's about half of the parts that we're going to be doing to this F-250. We decided to order a lift kit versus getting leaf springs and shocks, because stock leaf springs are like $260 per pack for the front, so it'd be like $520, $530 with tax or so for just leaf springs, and then shocks are about $30 to $50 a piece. So you can do the math on that. We found a lift kit for about $500 that comes with leaf springs and shocks. So these are just the parts that aren't lift orientated that we're going to be replacing. So this right here is the smog pump delete bracket. It's a Proform part, which is hard to find now, but it's part number 68110, and that comes with that pulley. But that's for like the Mustang 5.0s. It'll work on the 351 Windsor, but you'll need this pulley to keep your factory belt size. See, it's a lot bigger there. And then this is an O'Reilly's part, which was really easy to get, and that's the part number for it. So you just swap that pulley out, and then that'll bolt on, and you can run your factory belt length with the smog deleted. These are the axle U-joints for the front axles, because the axle shafts have U-joints in them. So I've got 2 of those that I'm replacing. That's the part number for them. The front drive shaft for the 4-wheel drive. This is the front U-joint of it. And then here's the part number for it. And then we're doing upper and lower ball joints. This is the lower ball joint, upper ball joint, factory size belt, and then we're doing one drag link on it because it was wore out, the boot was. But so this is half of the stuff we're going to be doing to this truck so far. We're going to end up doing a clutch and the lift on it as well, but this is just the basics that are going to get us started here. So we went with all Master Pro parts because this is just going to be a hunting truck, so it doesn't need to be nothing spectacular on it. It's not going to be daily driven. It'll get used like a month out of the year, 2 months out of the year. So just went with the Master Pro parts. We didn't go with Moog or anything, but this will be fine for what it's used for. So we're going to get cranking on this guy. All right, so we started by PB blasting everything. I just went ahead and sprayed the leaf spring bolts, shock bolts, ball joint. You know, just sprayed everything up with that so it'll have time to set in before I get to it. And then you'll start pulling apart the rotor. The brake system, I took off the caliper and the caliper mounting bracket, and now I'm taking this guy apart. So if you haven't seen inside of one of these before, they're pretty cool the way they work. This gear right here gets pushed in and engaged. So for this guy, you turn this like that to lock it in, and what it's doing is it's pushing this ring out and then actually shoves that gear into the lock position. So that's what locks it into the axle and everything, and then you got 4-wheel drive. So that guy's just got a spring behind it, and just locks in like that. And that's just a couple Allen bolts in it around here, and then you take that guy out, and that's that. So then you get down in here, and you got one little Phillips here that you take out, and then that will let this gear come out. Alright guys, so to get this guy out, you just take off that little Phillips I was showing you, and then it comes out, and then the spring is right behind it. Make sure you keep all this stuff together. And then the second part of this will be this piece in there, where your Phillips screw was and everything is in there. And then there's around this edge is this weird clip type deal right here. So it's got like 3 layers to it, but it's like a snap ring, but it's got like 2 layers to it. And so you can get that guy with a pick. I got it with a pick and kind of got it off to the edge, and I was able just to grab with my hand and work it out all the way around, just working it around. And that comes out, and then you have the snap ring on the axle that comes through right here. So you get that snap ring off, and then this guy, you kind of gotta grab it with some pliers here and here, or on vice versa, and kind of just work it back and forth. And then that guy pops out. So the next part is this ring right here. I was able to get a screwdriver up here between this and the inside of the hub in here. You can kind of just get a pinch in there, and you could spin the rotor and kind of lock this with that and spin the rotor, and it was allowed this guy to come off of there. But it looks like it's got grooves in here as well. If you used a little pick, you might be able to put a little pick in there once you get it loose and just spin it out there. But this thing shouldn't be too tight because it's just the bearing nut. So this is just applying enough tension so that the bearings don't have any play in them, and they're just set right to free spin and everything and not locked up. So there's that guy, there's my bearing. Back bearing still in there in the back with the seal, but then you'll get to this point here, and you will take these nuts off here. There's 5 of them, and you will end up beating on this guy with a block of wood or a dead blow to get it to pop loose, because it's got a recessed ring in here that fits into the spindle. So what you'll do is you'll get these loose, and then you'll come in here and you'll beat on this guy, and it should separate. You know, you'll have to work it back and forth, hit some on the bottom, top, left, right, and work it, and then that should come out. You should be able to pull your dust cover off, and then you'll have access to the front of the axle and everything. You should be able to pull the axle out then. Alright, so I didn't videotape too much of this because this is pretty common repeating knowledge on YouTube. You'll see these videos constantly, but you'll see I got it torn all down. The only thing that I have not taken off to the side yet is this guy right here, because the bushing is stuck in there. See if you can hear that. The bushing's completely seized up with the bolt, so I'm just gonna, I got to beat over a little bit, so there is a gap between the head and the bracket, so I'm gonna cut that side off, and hopefully that should just fall out of there, and I'll get some new hardware, because we'd end up getting the lift kit, so we'll have new leaf springs and new shocks coming with that, new U-bolts and everything for that. So got her all tore down, and then over here is everything that came out of there. And we have got new ball joints. We have got a new U-joint in this axle. This is the 4-wheel drive front drive shaft. It's got new U-joints on both sides. Got new wheel bearings and wheel seals in this guy. So all these parts are sitting here ready to go. The brake pads are still good, rotors are still good, and all that. So this guy, I already got the bushing out of it, but we have the wrong ones. So I need to go get the replacements, get the right ones for that guy. And then this side will be good to go. It's all just waiting for the lift to come in. The lift should be here. Today is Thursday. It should be here next Tuesday. So I'm about to get this other side tore down over here. And then I'll rebuild everything for this side, and then it'll just be waiting for the lift to come in. So while I'm waiting for the lift to come in, I'll probably come back here, pull the old shocks off the rear, and go ahead and lift this back end up and pull the U-bolts so we can go ahead and put the spacers and everything in when the lift comes in. So that's where I'm at. I'm gonna tear this guy down. I'm not gonna go too into depth with this thing, just kind of showing y'all what's going on up here, because like I said, you can find videos for this twin traction beam crap everywhere because everyone makes videos on them. But one thing I will say is the axle on that side, I was having some issue finding some information about that, and it was real easy. I was just kind of being dumb with it. It's just a slip yoke right here. This boots over it and it's a slip yoke. Online I heard one guy say you got to drop the freaking pumpkin to get a C-clip out of there, but I was thinking, well, that makes sense now that I know that it's just this guy right here. The F-250 is tore down to bare bones up front. Leaf springs are off and everything. Arms off and all that. So the lift should be coming in the next day or so. Everything has been redone for both sides, and I'm gonna go ahead and start putting the arms on. Some new ball joints over here, U-joint. But about to put the arms back on because they're not going to be in the way of installing the lift, because that's just the leaf springs up front. So we're going to get the arms on, get the spindles on, and I got this guy replaced too. This one tie rod needed to be replaced. The rest of them were pretty good. So it's about time to start going back together with this guy. Diff is all cleaned up. This thing was completely packed. I mean, it looked like this was just a flat spot almost all the way around. It was nasty, but got her all cleaned up. About to replace the U-joint right here because it turned out to have a little bit of slop in it. So I'm gonna replace this U-joint here. That is the crap that come out of there. I mean, there's the size reference. That's the crap that come out of this, off of this diff. So really nasty. I'm getting all cleaned up because when it gets warmer, we want to paint all this stuff. We're gonna paint that and paint the arm for the other side and just clean it all up since we got all new parts under this. Our rough country lift has come in. We are only missing the leaf springs. They should be coming in tomorrow. For some reason they got shipped separately, but everything else is here other than the leaf springs. So what we got here, these, I believe, if I am reading correct, yep, these are the new twin traction beam brackets. So these will actually replace the brackets in there to move the arms down further. So we got to get those guys in there. We got the new shocks, front and rear, all the new U-bolts, front and rear, the blocks for the rear lift right here, hardware, comes with the extended pitman arm. So we got the pitman arm, all the bushings for the leaf springs, and the collars for inside the bushings. And then these are supports that go on here. They go on here somewhere like this, if I can get this open. These little brackets go in here and just add some extra support. So this is where we're at. Looks like I didn't look over this kit before I started putting this together. I never looked over this kit. Cal just ordered it, and I went ahead and started putting this side back together. So I got to pull that arm, the bolt out of the back arm. No big deal, really. It's just one bolt. Pull that bolt off the back and unbolt the brackets and get the new brackets in. So that's not a big deal at all. And then I'll have to pop the pitman arm off of there, and then it's all just going back together. All right, so starting on the lift, I am putting in the new braces in here. So this is how they go. You got these two nuts over here on your cross member, and there is it's actually captured in there, so you don't have to hold it with a wrench on the other side. And same for the two up here. There's that same captured setup on the top. I don't know if you can see it. And then same for over here, inside and on the top. And then you've got this brace that goes from bracket to bracket here. And they bolt on 2 bolts here. I don't have it fully mounted yet. 2 bolts there, 2 bolts in here, and then they mount in the middle with 2 bolts there. So I'm about to get all those tightened up, and then I can start putting my arms back on. Freaking beast. Holy crap. That's with the front end lifted 4 inches and 35's. I believe the 35's. This thing's a freaking monster truck now almost. It's got the drop down pitman arm, new leaves, got some travel limiters on there, new brake lines that we had to get separately. They didn't come with the kit, and they didn't say nothing about having brake lines, but we got them installed. Big old beefy Maxxis tires, Rough Country's wax shocks. Those things are gonna last maybe a month, but dang, this thing's tall. I mean, as a reference here, I mean, I'm 6 foot tall. It's almost to my shoulder at the hood. Well, we got the back end all tore apart right now. It's a beautiful thing having a forklift readily available. But we got the back end all lifted up right now. Got this nasty crap all split apart. But I'm about to go to lunch and take the other 2 tires, the other 2 wheels, and have the new tires put on over at the tire shop. And whenever I get back, finish putting the blocks in, new U-bolts and shocks on the rear, and then we can set it down. And the lift will be done, and new tires, and all that stuff. But look at these shocks. Holy crap. So this is what's going on with the F-250 now. This is the transmission crossmember. We have had to cut some length off of this side. We're going to end up adding it to this side, 1.5 inches as you can see right here, but because the transmission is not centered. So, and we also are moving this guy about like that to get around the drive shaft. So what we're going to do is we're going to add plate just in between here, a piece of plate, and then we're going to gusset it on each side. We'll gusset it here and here, and then that'll allow the front drive shaft to clear going to the diff. So as you can see here, that guy was going to be right in the way going to the frame rail. So this is what we're doing with it. We got that guy cut, and then this guy is going to go up here like this somewhat. Well, I got it. It'll be about like that. And we'll have some plate going between there and some gussets, and then this guy will be welded to the flange and bolted to the frame rail right there. But this is what we're having to do to get this guy to work. So if I look soaked, it's because I am. It's freaking pouring out here. I just ran over to the other shop to grab a drill, and it wasn't even raining that bad. I literally grabbed the drill and come right back out the door. And this is what it's doing. Anyways, waiting to grab the drill because we're working on this cross member still. And I'm having to make some plates right here. And what they're going to be for is, since the cross member is in the C channel of the frame, set my phone down. It's in the C channel of the frame like this, and these guys will be bolted in like that. And to get the cross member out, you have to turn it sideways to have it come out. So with these being flush against the frame, all the way up against the frame, then there's not going to be any wiggle room to go sideways with it. So what we're going to do is make a couple of these. I'm going to make 2 of them, and then they will just be slid in between the bolts, at the end of it. They'll just be on there like that, and there'll be 2 of them. That'll make 1/2 inch. And when you pull the bolts out, you should be able to pull these guys out. They should just slide out, and then you should have enough room to go sideways with it. So here's the cross member in here. It's not in the exact spot it needs to be, but it's just sitting in here. But this is pretty much the concept of what's going on here. I guess it's welded in. The rise up right here, the dog leg for the drive shaft, comes from right here and down to the differential right there. And I went ahead and welded all the way around the transmission mount plate right here, because it was just welding like 3 spots in like an 1-inch-long bead. So I welded all the way around that guy, and then I got my plate tacked on over here. I'm about to test the plates on this side. When it cools off a little more, it's steamer hot right now, but I'm about to test my plates over here. See, I got my gap right here. I'm going to test my plates and slip them in there, and then mark where my other end needs to be over here, the weld on flange. Mark where it needs to be, and if everything looks good, I'll take it over there, tack it up, and I'll bring it back over here and test to make sure that we can take it out with each end tacked on. If we can get it out, then I'll finish weld it and we'll be done. We'll go ahead and pull this trans and do the clutch. Alright, so we're doing the clutch on this Ford, and we just replaced the pilot bearing in here, and we're going to go ahead and replace this rear main seal too. It had a leak on it, so while we're in here, we're going to go ahead and replace this guy. I got the old one out, about to put the new one in. I seen this trick online, and they didn't have the wood on it or nothing, but they took a 4-inch piece of PVC, the glue side of 4-inch, and it is the perfect outside diameter of the new seal. So what I did, I went ahead and marked it to make it official. So I got the block here, and I just put a little 90 bracket to it, so that way I got something to beat on with the hammer. So right now I am getting the seal seat all cleaned up with a rag and some brake cleaner, and then I am going to hammer that new one in there. For the pilot bearing, I use the deal from O'Reilly's, the rent tool with the pilot bearing puller attachment. That's the old one sitting next to it. The first time I went after it, I pulled the bearing out of the center bearing right here. That came out, and I was like, well, crap. So I went in there, and there's actually a groove on the back side of that. There's a groove on each side in the back of it to actually let that tool grab. So once that came out, I slipped the deal back in there and was able to lock it in there. And I had to actually heat it up too. That's what the torch is doing on here. I just heated up this ring all the way around for about 5 minutes, and it finally came out. So new one's hammered in there. I just used a socket to fit around the outside of this and beat it in there nice and straight. So now I'm about to put the rear main in, and then we're gonna put this guy back on. We got to pick up the new flywheel from O'Reilly's that we ordered, and then center everything with the alignment tool and put the new clutch and all that back on. There is the transmission cross member all in.